Yo, what's up, bro? How you doing?
What up? How's it going?
Man, good day. I won't even say good day for Monday, man. It's been a good day.
Hey, man, it's been a beautiful day. Atlanta, it's like swinging for the fences here with the weather. It's like, for those that don't know, that if you're not local to Atlanta, it has traditionally been about 50 to 60 degrees. Out of nowhere today, it hit like 78 out of nowhere. And in true Atlanta form, we don't know if it will stay, but it was beautiful today.
I think we're in false spring. I think that's what they call it. Is that the name of it? I think it's false spring.
I think it is false spring because what ends up happening is in a few weeks we're going to get a snowstorm and then real spring comes. That's when
it's
real
like
spring.
Weekend of Easter, we always get like this awkward, like that the week surrounding Easter. We always get this awkward snowstorm or cold hit, and you be like, "Yo, what the hell is going on?" So this is where we are. So we're in false spring.
We're in false spring. Welcome, false spring. Hey man, what are you drinking on? What you drinking on?
I'm drinking a beer today. I needed to get to the liquor store so I can get some black-owned liquor. Did not go out and get that. So today, this is traditionally my pool beer, my summer pool beer.
Okay.
It's super light and refreshing. It's called Victory Sour Monkey. Really dope beer, 9.5% alcohol. Super refreshing, really dope. You would enjoy it.
Hey, that sounds good. That sounds good. Cool. Yeah, I'm drinking water, H2O. Matter of fact, balanced well.
You've been on this water kick, man. Tell me more.
I've been on the water kick. I've been trying to, get more fluids in. So today is going to be water.
Okay.
Next, I think after February, I might bring back the liquor again, but I need to chill out. So water is where it's at for me these days.
I don't necessarily drink a lot anymore. I think most times it's drinking around social. If I go out to dinner, if I'm with friends,
Right.
But I don't really pull up. Boom, hey, let me grab this bourbon at the house. Like if I'm watching, like if Georgia playing,
right?
No, that's a lie. I won't even drink when Georgia's playing because I'm nauseous.
You got it. You got knots in your stomach when Georgia's playing.
Bro, when Georgia's playing, man, like unless even when I'm at the game, like when national championship, Candace will tell you, like nobody talks to me in the house. Like I'll stand like right here in front of the TV. On
Word.
commercial breaks, I'll pace around. I'll just pace around in a circle.
That's serious.
I'm a nervous wreck during Georgia football, bro.
And then come out of it and go act like Georgia was never going to lose to begin with.
Bro,
nervous
So people have to remember the era in which this is probably my wife. See, I told you. So I was raised in the Mark Richt era of football, where we traditionally played down towards our opponent, right? Like we're playing New Mexico State for whatever west side of New Mexico State.
Mm-hmm.
We should beat them 900-0, and we end up beating them 27-30. Right? Georgia just had this non-focused. I won't say laissez-faire, right? I just don't think that it was just like, all right, we're supposed to beat these teams. Let's just show up and play. And so I still live that, right? That is my lived football experience. Mm. Even when people text me and they're like, yo, Georgia's going to win this game, I'm like, yeah, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. I won't even engage in the text messages because I lived through us beating Alabama. We were up, 2 touchdowns in Alabama. They come back and, with Tua and win in the second half, right? I've lived through these moments. And so I lived through the Falcons 26-3 or 27-3 moment, right?
Right.
As a football fan, I will not communicate about football until the score is 0-0, 0-0. Or at least until the time is 0-0-0. Will not communicate about football.
That is fascinating. I always avoid texting you unless it's something kind of crazy, just because I know you're focused on the game. But for the most part, I think my texts are mostly like, dang, that's crazy.
And people like for real, like my mom will call, like, so I can't watch football with my mother, right? Because she's like, no, did you see that? Like, shut up. Like, shut up, Mom. She will call during games, and I'm like, y'all know I don't talk. I don't talk during football. I don't talk trash pregame, right? Like, I don't talk trash about another team before Georgia plays because I don't want the karma of that coming back on my team. Like, literally.
So football Saturdays, college football Saturdays in your house is a very stressful place.
Oh, 100%. And then what's even worse is I will wear I'm the superstitious guy, right? I wear the same socks every game. Like I have some UGA Black alumni socks. I wear those to every game. Even if I'm at home, I will put the socks on. Traditionally my big game at home outfit is my black short. I have a pair of black shorts, and I have a long sleeve Georgia black t-shirt, and then I put on my Georgia Black alumni socks, and that's my fit, right? That's literally my outfit for big games. It's and then if I go to campus for a game, I'm wearing traditionally probably one of 2 red polo shirts, the same pair of khakis, boom, my UGA Black alumni socks and some white sneakers. Like, I don't play. Like, I just have, because see, like, literally in my jacked up wisdom.
Worried. Huh? I'm worried for you. I'm worried for you.
Let me tell you something. You should be. Like,
I'm worried for when Zay gets old enough to start playing sports on a Saturday. What you gonna do?
Oh, we don't. No. So we don't do we don't do fall sports because I don't want him to make me choose.
Wait. You said you don't want him to make you choose, right?
No, because we don't. No, because also
because he won't like the answer. Because he won't like the answer.
And so so before we had the 2 kids, I've been an assistant coach for all of Zay's baseball teams. So he's played baseball. He took this year off. He's probably taken 2 or 3 years off. And I am traditionally one of his assistant coaches. And so assistant coach can't miss the game, especially not for football. So I'm like, no, let's just play spring. This way we ain't got to worry about it.
Because if he pushes on it, you gonna choose Georgia football.
Georgia plays
over
6 games a year. Hey, Georgia, we get 12 games.
Oh no.
Hey, we get 12 games a year,
Hey.
5 to 6 home games. Bro,
What if Zay starts playing? What if he starts playing basketball?
He's not.
Basketball season starts, but he could get coordinated.
No. That's not the coordinated baby.
Candace said we had to plan our wedding around Georgia football.
We got married. So we got married.
This is why our children's birthdays are August and April.
My wife put my business out the street. So we got married. Yeah, we got married Georgia Florida game, which is always the first Saturday in November, and then the wedding started after kickoff. Like hey yo, like the wedding. I think the wedding started like it was like, all right, we can't. The game kicks off every year at 3:30, so that means we can't start the wedding at 3:30. So the wedding started at like 5:30. This way you knew where Georgia was. Like if we were up.
She said the wedding started 4 hours after the game ended.
It did not. She's lying. Because the game ended. No, we did not have a 7 o'clock wedding ceremony. We had a 7 o'clock.
She put it all out there. It all out there. Candace has feelings. She got feelings about this.
Oh my gosh! Obviously, she still holds pretty hard contempt for.
Look, she iterated. She put an exclamation on that.
She's alive. I think Tasha's not watching the show yet. If she was, Tasha was there. Tasha and Marlon were there. I don't remember who was there that could corroborate my story. But yeah, like, hey, for real though, like a lot of our peoples was Georgia people. So it was either get married in the spring or you can find a bye week. Or you
can find a bye week.
Find a bye week, Georgia, Florida after kickoff.
Hey, I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it.
This is not my fault.
It's fascinating. Yes, I'm glad that Zay has not put you in a position of having to choose. Because if he played basketball, I can definitely see a space of being like, but it's the playoffs though.
So this came home. This hit real close to home because Zay's birthday originally was supposed to be September 11th. And so Zay was born 3 weeks early. And the minute the doctor was like, yo, you need to go, like, boom, doctor's like, hey, you need to go now, right?
Right.
It's time for you to go to the hospital. We're going to do this right now. And so that means Zay was born in August. And my first thought when she called me was like, yo, at least now he won't be born in football season. Because let me tell you something. I'm not planning a kid birthday because at that time, the second when Zay was born, we used to play South Carolina the second Saturday of September, always. Like that was the Georgia South Carolina day. And so I'm like now every other year, this boy gonna try to have a birthday party on UGA South Carolina. And I'm like, oh, like that's not a real thing. We're not having a birthday party on South Carolina.
Jeff, I love it. I love you as my brother, dude. But that is true fandom. That is true fandom. I used to tell people I bleed blue for Georgia State. I understand your blood runs red.
Red and black, baby.
These colors don't run, brother.
I hope to be the only person that thought like my son was born. Everybody else is like, yo, he's born 3 weeks early. Like, you're not worried? And I'm like, he's out of football season now. Like,
no, you're the only one that's like, hey, it was a blessing. God looking out for your boy. Georgia, South Carolina. Yeah.
Hey, my man, the Lord, Father says he knew my heart, bro. Because he knew
my heart. He knew my heart. Hell no. Nah.
Had that boy been born on September 11th, he worried about everybody gonna think his birthday tied to the World Trade Center. I'm like, no, this boy he is gonna be consummately having birthday parties that wrap around. I was like, because I will move his birthday party if they got to buy a week or two later. Like, I'm not doing this. The kid was going to have a birthday party every year on Sunday. If he was born on September, if he was born on that day, he would have had a birthday party on Sunday and never on a Saturday.
Hey, hilarious.
Man.
Great way to open up the show, though. Thank you for that.
Like, now everybody go looking like this. So we got a handful of people watching. They gonna be like, man, this dude.
Hey, but they should know the rules, right? When it comes to football season, Jeff is not the person you call on Saturday. Just not. It's just not. Just you can call him after the game, after the Georgia game specifically, but do not mess that flow up. So
I literally have a handful of rules. I don't have many. I don't go to baby showers. I go to Georgia football games, and I traditionally don't like going to kids' birthday parties, right? Like those are my big three rules. I didn't go to my own kids' baby showers. I will go to my kids' birthday parties because I got to, but I'm not the one. I'm not the one that takes kids to the birthday parties, right? Like that's not
right.
That's this thing. I mean, we'll be at Ram Dollars, because that's y'all. I'll be at all her birthday parties because she's my goddaughter. But traditionally, I do not go to kids' birthday parties. I do not go to baby showers, and I do not miss Georgia football games. That's just the way I am. Don't judge me.
Yeah, no judgment today. Hey, so what we got on the agenda for the show? Though?
Oh, real quick, last story. My mom, she got remarried on the UGA Auburn blackout game. To this day, don't forgive her. Do not forgive my mother. It's a sore subject for me. It was the one in Georgia when they were blackout. The very first time that Georgia wore black jerseys, and they came out on the field for warm-ups in red jerseys, and then they went to the locker room, and obviously the fans were told to wear black. It was a night game, and then the team went back into the locker room.
I think I remember this, and they lost though, didn't they?
That was Alabama.
I remember that one.
We ran out the tunnel for the first time ever in black jerseys. Stadium goes crazy. It's a night game. Players are dancing on the bleachers. Crazy atmosphere. I can never go back and have that moment, and it's because my mother decided to get remarried. Couldn't pick a different day. I told her, I was like, "Yo, mom, do this on Sunday."
Right.
I was like, "Hey,
can't do it."
Georgia Auburn.
That was a testament. It was a testament to your love.
Writing it on her tombstone. Here lies the woman who made me miss the blackout game.
But no, seriously, what we got on the show? What we got people to talk about? Because we got some good stuff.
So the premise today, so Candace and I have been watching a couple of shows on HBO Max. One of them is like soul food, something related to cooking soul food. Hold on, let me grab the name. The Great Soul Food Cook-Off. We watched that season, just like any other cooking show or chef competition show. They pay, 10, 12 chefs get together and then they judge them cooking a bunch of different dishes. Decent show. The other show that's really dope on HBO Max is called Hungry for Answers. And it follows this writer, cookbook author, restaurant person as she travels the country having these conversations with owners of restaurants or distilleries around race and how they came to get their product, right? So on one episode, they trace the lineage of Nashville hot chicken back to this black restaurant that's still in existence today. They did the story of Jack Daniel's whiskey and how their first master distiller was a former slave. And so she's going back to all of these major brands and having these real conversations with people around the impact of race and racism on their product. And so I'm like, yo, it's actually a really dope show. It's on HBO Max, by the way, if you want to watch it. So that got me thinking with these two shows, with like all the stuff that Target's dropping, all of these major brands are streaming black content. And
Right.
so my question to you was, are these brands pandering to African Americans during Black History Month, right? Not that they couldn't pander during every other month of the year, but are they purposefully dropping all of our content during Black History Month? Do you care? Would you watch it anyway? Have the conversation. Ready, set, go.
Yeah. So I think initially thinking about that, right? Are they pandering or pandering? I don't know if I want to use that word pandering, but I do want to say it's a heavy concentration on black content during Black History Month. I mean, I it's just unheralded. I've never seen uh me open up Prime and there'll be like a Black Voices Matter channel or something
Yeah.
activated. And it's like, oh, apparently there's a bunch of black content out here that was never well organized, right? I think the only issue that I really have with that initially, kind of thinking about the availability, just the sheer organization of like having these channels available, is I don't always notice this. And maybe it's a blind spot, and maybe they've been doing this, but I don't notice this for Hispanic Heritage Month. I don't notice it for Asian Pacific Islanders Month or anything like that. So where are those channels at? And why is this like only set to a time of year? Can there not just be like a broader category of just other voices? So I think that's initially my thinking about the availability. Now I will tell you, and this is just me. I'm interested to get your thoughts about there out there.
Mhm.
It's like I would peg it at about 2/3 of the content that's squashed in there. Some of that stuff is like B real, C real, C level like
Mhm.
content where it's like this is the most stereotypical trash content that
Yeah.
I've seen out there, almost like Hallmark Channel worthy, where it's like this is horrible stuff. Like, don't be trying to send me to Tyler Perry Sisters or something like that, right? Like, or some like Oval Office thing. I mean, I get what the purpose is. Tyler Perry's getting this content out, but that's not the good stuff, right? Like, where's the good stuff at? So the stuff you're talking about sounds really good, intentional content, but some of that stuff out there is like super trash to me.
Well, you bring up a good point, right? Because sometimes I feel like too much of our content is bad, stereotypical content, but I don't know from. I think it feels that way because there's not enough. We don't have enough content. Period. Right. So I think
Yeah,
when you have five shows that are on TV and one of them is bad or one of them is stereotypical content, you're like,
yeah,
man, there's too much bad content, and it's really just one show. But if I only have five options, then
right.
that's a huge segment of
Very
that's
true.
that's 20% of my content. And
Right.
so it feels like, like there's so much bad out there when really it's the issue isn't the bad content. It's just that there's not enough content, period. So if we increase the number of content, then the bad doesn't feel bad. Or that niche, you know, grandma, loving hip hop Atlanta content doesn't feel as bad if I have 30 other shows that are good.
Now let me ask you this though, because like where you're talking about this just popped into my mind, right?
Mhm.
Is as I think about shows like Blackish, right?
Yep.
I could look at Blackish and tell that's not how all people live, all black people live, but it's a good sliver of just a black America at that time period and issues facing this family, right? I do, however, get the feeling that some people outside of the black culture misunderstand shows like Blackish to represent a much larger majority of where Black America exists at. And that's just not always true, right? Does that ever like come into your mind when you're thinking about those shows as well? Because that's something like I kind of hear from. I worry. No, worry is probably too strong of a word, but I do think about when I hear some of my coworkers of other races reflect on Blackish and then try and translate that to my own experience, and it's like, well, my wife's not a doctor. I'm not a VP of a marketing firm with kids living in South California in a mansion with my mom, my dad, and so many others. That's a very blessed outcome in life. And Dre's story is very much Dre's experience. That's Dre's not like every black dude out there. You know what I
So
mean?
I think this is a really good convo because I think we have to take a second and dissect shows like Blackish for a second, because I think the reflection of Blackish is purposeful because the people behind the camera are black, right?
Yeah.
The people who are executive producers are black. You know, when we think about Anthony Anderson, we think about Tracy Ellis Ross. I forgot who the producer of the show, I forgot her name. So when we think about, like, they're telling that story in the same way we probably, or older previous generations, remember the Cosby Show, and we're going to
Mhm.
tell the story from the vantage point of successful black people, as opposed to the story that Hollywood wants us to tell, which is the single parent narrative, mom is struggling, or the
Yeah.
everybody Chris narrative, right? Um,
Right.
and so I think I think again, it goes back to not having enough content that's quality. And so I
Yeah.
think I think mainstream America watched Blackish, enjoyed it because it was a good show. Anthony Anderson is pretty mainstream. Tracy Ellis
Right.
Ross is pretty mainstream.
Great show. Great show.
Great
Great
show
show.
across the board.
Yeah.
So it sucks people in. But because there's not enough great shows that share the breadth of the black experience, then the only option for me is to assume that Blackish is the black experience, because either you're going to get the extremes. Either we're going to get the slave movie, or we're going to get the black person coked out,
We'll
movie,
see.
or we're
So
going to get
that
Cross and Blackish.
Well, see, that's such an interesting reflection because in many ways, it's because of that limited amount of content now that I reflect back on shows and I'm like, I'm not sure that we've moved forward as a culture in media the way that we envisioned ourselves moving forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I reflect about shows like or networks, let's go back to UPN, CW, and Fox, right? There was tons of black content out there.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, when I
Yeah.
was like preteen era, right? Between Family Matters, Martin, Friends, right? To Up All Night, In the House,
Yep.
Brandy, Parenthood. There were so many different examples of the black experience
Mm-hmm.
in the 90s that by the time we got to the aughts, right, that thousands and on, it's like they really started getting rid of a lot of this stuff to where there's like now Blackish or Grownish or some of those shows, some composite of that. And I know the idea is that we should have more content out there, but it doesn't feel like shows like Scandal are really black experience shows. It's
No,
just
they're
much more
not.
like, you know what I mean? Like, even though they're
Well,
headed by a black lead,
yeah.
but I remember living single, representing goals for how I imagined my 20s being. I got good friends. We're doing things. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
living single, I was like, that makes sense, right? They went to college, they got alumni. They're talking about going to homecomings and things like that. It's like Cosby has evolved, or different world has evolved into like this post-college adulthood experience. And now we don't really get that anymore. Like a lot of that content is gone, you know?
So what's crazy is, so when you think about what you just brought up, you brought up like, so TGIF, right? So like those, it was 2 hours on a Friday night. And when
Yeah.
you think about black content, Family Matters is what kicked that TGIF off. So it was like, yo, we get 25% of of TGIF was family comedy, but it was all black, and the stories that were built into those shows were because it was sitcom based, were true black stories, right? So Family Matters or Living Single, for instance, you got, or not necessarily Living Single, but Family Matters to a degree, you got to see the extended family, right? You got to see
Right.
grandma living with her kids. You got to see single mom with, what's her name, Rachel, raising
Yeah.
the little light skinned boy. So you
Right.
got to see Eddie deal with getting pulled over. So you got
Yeah.
to see some of these things, and then you saw it
Classic
again
episodes. Right.
with Fresh Prince, right? Like you got to see
But see, like, so
stories
it's interesting.
through people's eyes.
But it's interesting because like shows like Fresh Prince, while great, and I'm trying to navigate this, and I think it's much more to what Shalisha just said. Shalisha put in there Insecure and Issa Rae, which I think is a great reflection of Black content out there that reflects a normalized Black experience, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Fresh Prince of Bel Air and Blackish represent the exception, not the rule, right?
Yep.
It is rare. It's not rare that a family supports another family member, a nephew or something like that. But to move from Philly to Bel Air, be the guy, be successful at every level, Will Smith in on the show, and you know, have this experience of living with the riches, and we get money and all that stuff. That's like an exception, right? But
Right.
when I compare that to like Martin, right? What
Mm-hmm.
made Martin fantastic to me is that Gina was a normal person.
Yep.
She wasn't anything. She quit her job. I think at some point she got fired from a job, right? Pam was just normal. Tommy, normal. You know what I'm saying? All the characters on the show, even Martin as a radio disc jockey, was like, he's doing well for himself, but he's normal. He's just a normal person. The Wayans brothers shows, right?
Yeah.
They got a normal 9 to 5 job, right? I just loved that it just was like, it's just a thing. Like it's just there's no kind of exceptionality to this experience that helps you relate that. But on the flip side, I would also raise up that I watch Atlanta now, and Atlanta is all like there are certain parts of Atlanta that are like, while the reflections are very insightful about the Black culture, Black cultural experience, like I think we have common things that we can reflect on Atlanta and laugh about. The idea that you would just pop up and be a mega rapper and be traveling around the world doing all these things is kind of the exceptionality to that as well. So I don't
I mean,
know.
but I can make the argument that I think Danielle brought up the comment that people digest content differently nowadays than we used to, and I can agree with that. But I also think, honestly, I think Hollywood got lazy,
Right.
right? I think we just got accustomed to digesting whatever content was produced, regardless of the quality of the content. And
Right.
so, and I think we can't miss on the fact that during that time, right, when we ended the Martin living single era of quality comedy, and we
Right.
immediately transitioned into the Tyler Perry Medea style of comedy.
Yeah.
And
It's so
I'm
fascinating, man.
not putting this on the head of Tyler Perry, right? Because I think it's too. And
It's too much.
Tasha brought up Real World, right? Like I
Right.
think that like that style of show, Real World, really changed how people, like, hey, let's get the stereotypical Black guy, drop him in a house. Let's get all of these. And so I think that just changed how people viewed TV.
Yeah.
And
Do that.
so if we're willing to view trash TV like The Real World, or insert whatever show you wanted to insert that was around that time, then why do I have to put forth the money and effort to produce quality programming or sitcom programming that are expensive, like Martin, where you're paying? I mean, now granted, Martin probably wasn't that expensive when it was produced, but flash forwarding into the early to late 2000s, it's probably more expensive for me to produce quality sitcom TV than it is for me to produce the trash that that
I don't know, man.
that we started to consume.
I still come back to this that I really feel like if we were to take stock of currently where we are in relation to generating black content, right? Black
Mhm.
cultural content. I think while we've become more democratized in our content, right? Um, we've lost the mainstream ability of normal black experience, right? Like you just it doesn't feel like when I watch TV there are many black leads anymore. There's
Mm.
not as much kind of black oriented content where it has to be specialized to Black History Month or some or like something going on and it has to be like a special episode of. And I
Or let me ask
just
a follow-up to that thought. Do you think that that's driven more because we've decided to put so much of our content behind a paywall? So whether it's paywall of Netflix,
right,
Netflix, Prime, HBO Max. Hell, I turned on the TV yesterday, MGM Plus got a one. And I'm like, fam, like how many? So is it
right,
have we taken black content off of so we see, oh shoot, Issa's gotten black content popping now.
right.
That's
So
real,
like
right? Let's take that away from traditional TV and let's drop that behind a paywall.
no, I kind of controversial. I understand this might be controversial. I want to say it's probably that Hollywood is concentrated on fewer black producers, like a club of black producers
I
instead of
agree.
following the democratization of content. I mean, if you were to stroll on Facebook alone, and you've talked about this with Kev on stage, right?
Yep.
There's other black content creators out there that are
Mhm.
making really good
Con-
content that are just on mainstream levels, right? They're just not out there. But to Danielle's point, maybe it's the consumption of has changed, right? And maybe they're not looking for that stuff on ABC or Fox anymore. But then you see things like NBC's trying to get the Grand Crew off the ground, and they had the nerve. I thought I saw this. I don't know if this is true marketing for it, but I thought they described it as the black version of Friends, like something like
Wow.
that. And I was
Wow.
like Friends was the white version of Living Single
Exactly.
because I don't
We
really understand what we're doing here.
Yep.
Now you're just being upfront and saying basically I stole the show, the concept, and now I'm gonna regurgitate it out and
Yep.
try and live off of that lie. And it's
Yep.
just kind of it just feels like we lost. You know what I
So
mean? Like
it was
it
crazy.
feels like a more Infinity War than Endgame. Does
Yeah.
that make sense? Like,
Yep.
dang, I don't know that we won here, you know?
So it's funny because if you follow Kev on stage's story, right? So Candace, we have the app. I think it's like $10 or $7 for the app, for the Kev on Stage Studios app. And there's a lot of he's gotten to the space now on that app where not every show includes him. Right. So when he first started the app 2 or 3 years ago, every show included him or the crew, right? Just to get it off the ground. It was like, yo, we gonna get this thing going. And now my man is pushing out an ass ton of content that's super quality.
Right.
That's so I think and so okay, I'm gonna say this and so he did it because he's like, yo, I'm pitching these stories to Netflix, to Prime, to all of these channels, network TV and streaming, and nobody's picking up my stories. So
Right.
I'm gonna just create. I've been successful. I'm just gonna create. I'm gonna put my own money up, and I'm gonna create this app for people to download our content. But I think the issue that we have to remember as well is yes, strong black lead is important, but if we don't have people sitting in the chair saying action or in the cutting table,
Or in
behind the
the
scenes,
writing room. Or in the writing room.
then we're not getting authentic stories, right? Like you could like the thing that I love about certain shows that are produced by black people that feature black people is you can tell
Oh yeah.
not by us, by how we light ourselves or how
Right.
we do our makeup, right? We all watch football and we watch old girl as a sideline reporter. I don't know what that woman's name is, but every time she on TV, like we like, fam, you look like Chewbacca because you letting somebody that ain't black do your hair or do your makeup. And so
Yeah.
we can tell, like, when shows are authentically produced by us. Yep, Pam. There you go, Tasha. Thank you. You can tell when shows are authentically produced by us because it's the way they light black people or the way they do our hair and makeup that makes you more connected to the team because you're like, yo, like
Yeah.
that's me. I can
I
see
mean,
me, right? My man got a tape line.
but I mean, that comes from like having a strong kind of community around the production,
Yeah.
around not just in front of the camera, but also behind the camera, to what you were saying before. Because I think it also comes up, you can watch something and be like, oh, a black person wrote that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's an experience that is so intimate to what your reality is that you're like, yeah, there's only one way you would know
Mm-hmm.
that. Like, I think I was watching the Atlanta episode where they were doing Disney, right? And the guy gave out a dap. He gave somebody a handshake, right? And when he gave him the handshake, he didn't snap. And he's like, "Oh, it's not dap if there's no snap, right?" And that is something that acutely many people know about older generation black males that do that awkward like hand clap, snap, and
Mm-hmm.
shoot, like, right?
Yep.
So it is hilarious because it's something organic that you know someone wrote that to from that lived experience. When it doesn't come across as authentic, it feels like you hollowed out our culture
Yeah.
just for the
Percent.
purpose of getting it out. You know what I
Percent.
mean?
I mean,
For
I think
sale. Exactly.
your wife hit a good one, right? So your wife got really, I think, two comments. She hit the one that larger network studios are just trying to stay relevant. I agree, and they're hitting low hanging fruit. I 100% agree, right? I mean, I think that's it. And then she hit the one about Abbott Elementary School, strong black lead. Quinta is fire, but I think what we forget, even with Quinta, right, is the length of time that it took Quinta to become relevant to mainstream America, right? Quinta been killing the game like Issa
Right.
Rae. Like we forget that all of like Quinta is Quinta might have been the first person to go viral being memed or she had that, oh, he got money, right? Like went viral off that social clip on like Vine or something like
Right.
that. And then now parlay that 10 years later, and she's finally getting her shine with Abbott Elementary, but it's written and produced by her.
Right.
Issa had to go awkward black girl on as a
Right.
5-minute YouTube show to parlay that into
But you're
her show.
also talking, yeah, to the point that I brought up earlier, and to the point that you're bringing up now. So there's something to this, right? Issa and both Quinta had democratized content.
Mm-hmm.
So did Kev on stage,
Yep.
that told them, don't go through the studio, do your own, right? And the studios will come, or the work will come, the recognition will come. I think about Kevin Hart, and I watched Kevin Hart's one of his first movies, Paper Soldiers. That was like a Rockefeller Films movie, and with Beanie Siegel and Freeway and all that stuff. And it took place in Philly. It was a low budget movie that Kevin Hart, you could tell Kevin Hart had star quality, right?
Yep.
But it was a lower budget movie that they made, and it made, I think, some money. It's still out there in some regards, but everyone's got to start from somewhere. So for the actors on Sisters and some of those content shows, I mean, maybe this isn't your ultimate stop, but this is your beginning. And I gotta have respect for that too. So maybe there's something to this lower grade quality content just being out there, and someone watching that and being like, it's not about the script, it's about the acting. And then maybe we can bring that person in for more. Or the writing here was good, but the acting was bad, and we need to hire that person up. I just wish I had better visibility into the health of those industries for people of
Yeah,
color,
I got that.
because it seems so hard to kind of get in sync with, right?
I mean, but even when you think about like the run that what's his name? We talked about him the other day. Ant-Man, uh
Quantumania.
yeah, what's his name? Jonathan Majors.
Yeah.
When you think about the run that this dude is on right now, like when we think about Jonathan Majors, I can't remember what he did prior to this run that he's on right now. Right? Like my man will be in Creed 3 in a couple
Well,
weeks. He
it
did
started
part
with The Last Black Man in San Francisco, which was like a little indie cut movie that made impact, and then he just skyrocketed from there, right?
and then he did what he did. He did Lovecraft. He did Lovecraft recently.
He
You
did
know,
Lovecraft. He did that Navy movie, Devotion or something.
that movie was trash too, by the way. He did the
Nate, that he got a check though. So
yeah, no. I mean, they Hollywooded the movie up and they made the movie
right.
about the white dude, not the black dude. He did that other movie. He did that movie, the Western movie. So I mean, like my man is
The
in
Harder
his
They
bag.
Fall. Yeah.
He's in his bag right now. But when we think about his rise, I can't think of what he was like before he made it. I don't know what that dude was in.
Right.
Anyway, I don't want us to get distracted from the point, but I think my sincere hope is that because we've moved to this space where we have all of these streaming shows, that more black actors and hopefully more black directors and people are going to get shots because we got so much content to fill, right? Like,
Right.
but from what I was told, Netflix ain't doing too hot from a financial perspective anyway.
Right.
I think somebody in tech recently told me, a frat brother who's in tech was like, yo, like Netflix from a financial perspective is barely hanging on. Like,
For real.
like financially, Netflix behind the scenes, they ain't doing well from a financial perspective. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, this is belaboring the point, but
Right.
but yeah, no, I mean, I think long story short, I would love to see our content not be relegated. Like, but it's the same thing with our history. I would prefer our history not be relegated to 1 month. I would prefer our shows not be relegated to one freaking month. But I would also continue to prefer that our shows still come on, right? Like, so if
Right.
in this moment I have to say, yo, like some of these shows hit during Black History Month, but maybe they catch fire and they last longer, and then they get greenlit for season 2. Like at this point, like whatever it takes. Like
Right.
I wish
Whatever
we
it
lived
takes.
in a
I
world
agree.
that was better, and saw the value of our storytelling and our content, not just from a black perspective, right? But like from a Quinta perspective, right? With Abbott Elementary, let us take regular stories, put a black person in as a lead, and let us just be ourselves, right? Like it doesn't have to be black, just let us be us in a lead role.
Right.
I would, it doesn't have to be black stories. Just allow black people to be themselves in these shows, and I think you'll have gold, right? Because I think we can
Right.
sense the genuineness of Quinta in that show.
Right. Yeah, I definitely I agree 100%. So
So I said a lot of words there.
no. I mean, but it matters. Like having your audience, having your content reflect the audience in its most authentic way possible
Mhm.
is the best way to go about paying equity towards the culture, especially during Black History Month and ongoing. There's just a way to go about it that feels more equitable just by being authentic. Exactly
Mhm.
what you were talking about with the content. So
Yeah,
yeah.
man. I think it's just, I had a conversation with somebody the other day. We were talking about just fun, being black in the fundraising space. and we were having the conversation just around authenticity, right? Like you have to be who you are regardless. And for us, it's hard, right? Because you want to climb corporate ladders, and unfortunately the people in some of these corporate ladders don't look like us. And when they do look like us, 9 times out of 10 they probably ain't checking for us the way we would like them to check for us. And
Right.
so we want to be able to lead and be ourselves and be present in all of these spaces. But in many times it's hard because you also don't want to be looked at differently or judged differently because you are being authentically who you are. And so I think I've just gotten to the space, man, where I'm like, yo, I don't, it's too time consuming to be someone else. And so
Right.
I just have to be me. And some of that is because I've worked in super conservative environments. It's taking me time to grow into somebody who feels comfortable showing up to work or showing up to important environments, being authentically me and not being the facade of Jeff, the safe black guy. And I
Right.
think that speaks to the way our shows are the way they are. I think that speaks to why certain things are the way they are, is because a lot of minorities don't feel safe being authentic in spaces because we're trying so hard to get the next check or get the next gig. And if you meet the authentic me, is that gonna be enough to propel
Right.
me forward?
Yeah. Deep.
You my bad, man.
No, no, it's
I
all
didn't know
good.
this. I didn't know where this is where the episode was going.
It got deep on us fairly quickly, but I
Mhm.
mean, I think it is a deep topic because as content, reflecting on content does shape culture, does shape society, right? By
Mhm.
which consume. It's something that we should be very intentional about what we're watching, how we're watching it, and what it does do for us as a culture to move us forward. Because I think, just like you're saying, Dwayne Wade made me feel comfortable being a bit of a geek, right? And being
Mhm.
like, it's fine. Like, yeah, Dwayne Wade out here kind of killing them, right? In a different world, right? And I mean, just like that, I think Dre on Blackish to come full circle
Yeah.
does give people the space to feel more authentic. Because
Yep.
I do recall a time, like I remember not even 2006, but maybe like 2010, right?
Mhm.
2010-ish, 2011. Um, I remember my dad was saying, "So you're interviewing for jobs? Are you going to cut all that off?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Why?" He was like, "'Cause you don't have a beard. You don't do a beard, don't
Yeah,
do a
man.
mustache, you don't do any of that." And it's like, but now I'm not me interviewing because I'd
Mhm.
like a beard, I'd like a mustache. So what am I supposed to cut this off and then grow it back later or something or
Yeah.
cut it off every I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? That's not who I am, you know?
Okay, so
So
I feel like next week, because I want to keep going because I have a point that I want to bring up, but I think next week's episode we got to talk about code switching. Let's end Black History Month talking about code switching.
I think code switching is an excellent topic to talk through because I think
because
how you move and
because you know what's crazy, right? Is I've had experience. I won't bring up one of my early jobs. I had a supervisor that was like, "Yo, I don't want to interview this dude because he has dreads."
no, can we okay, so you bring this
I mean,
up. You
I've
open this
opened the
door.
box. We can have part of the conversation now.
No, so I think the incredible conversation that I would love to have, right? And but people love it. Here we go. So I would love to talk about code switching and generational mentorship. I would love to have that conversation because I suspect my hypothesis is that the code switching from the older generation is not the code switching of this generation. It's not the same. To move in those spaces is a different thing. And I've benefited and I've also been a part of that mixture of someone telling you, I'm looking out for you. You need to cut that mustache off or that beard, right?
Yeah.
And you being like, that's for your generation. That's like how you needed to move in this space.
It's that
Right?
it literally we had this same situation. We started talking. We started this episode talking about TV, and that's that episode of Living Single, right? Kyle makes it up. He gets that promotion, or he's like, "Yo, why y'all ain't checking for me?" And then the black dude is like, "It's because your hair." And Kyle had those little twisty things in his head,
Right.
and then
Points was fire too.
and
Like,
then the dude that was hating was, a black dude who had a regular, even all the way around. And then it come out like, yo, and then the white dude, his boss was like, no, we just took a minute to make the decision. It ain't got nothing to do with your hair. Right. And so a lot of people who are teaching people how to code switch aren't empowering them at all. They're just teaching them.
no, you're
Teaching them
not, bruh.
They're teaching them politics.
I would tell you, I would never name names, but on the path to success in any space, you will always have people that are around and will try and help you in whatever way possible.
Mm-hmm.
But all help offered isn't all help welcomed, right?
Nope.
And sometimes there are people in older generations that just don't reflect that, right? And it's something that I have to be aware of because there's a younger generation that's coming through that I'm
Mm-hmm.
steady telling people like, yo, this is how you move. And they're like, no, it's not. Right. Right. They're like, no, you need to change your job every year, every 2 years, because that's how you get this money. You need to bust down doors and crack open a seat at the table. And it's just the turnover from generational to generation of how these things move. It's so fascinating to me to one, have that reflection, but also be a part of that at the same time.
The way I have moved, so I'll tell you a quick story. The person who changed, I know the person who changed code switching for me was Jay Bailey. And if a lot of people in the comments probably know Jay. Jay right now is the president and CEO of the Russell Center for Innovation, Entrepreneurship and Innovation. Watching him move, and he was also, probably like number 2 at. But when I met Jay, he was number 2 at Operation Hope, big nonprofit in Atlanta. And Jay is Jay. If you know Jay, Jay is going to show up to work and show up to meetings, no matter who you are, with an Atlanta fitted on and a button down. And if it's cold, he's going to have a bubble vest on top of that, right? Like, and then if he feels like it's necessary, he'll throw a suit on because he feels like it's necessary. And so watching Jay move through spaces like that, where he's going and being the head of a nonprofit in white spaces, but being confident enough in himself to say, I'm still going to rock my Atlanta fitted because that's who I am. Like if you look up Jay now, I'm pretty sure it's going to be him. If he's speaking somewhere, his headshot is going to be him with an Atlanta fitted on because that's who he is. He's Atlanta, right? Yeah. And so for me, I'm like, yo, I saw that. And I'm like, hold on. This dude, UGA grad, an alpha just like me, probably, not in a generation above. And I'm like, if he is moving and shaking in a space where he's being who he is, then why can't I? Right. And then to take it a step further, as I grow into leadership roles, as we grow into leadership roles, I think we have to be confident enough in our leadership that we break the need for code switching, period. Right? So when you show up to work with me as your employer, you show up and be who you are, because I ain't got time. Right. Like I told our ED the other day, I was like, yo, my concern is you're going to speak on this panel. And if somebody comes to meet you here, are they going to meet 2 different people? And if they're going to meet 2 different people, then you're doing yourself and you're doing us a disservice Just be who you are and let the chips fall where they fall, and just
Right.
trust that who you are is enough to close the deal, right? And
Right.
so I don't know, as I get into these leadership roles, man, I just do my best to create
It's
environments
fascinating.
where code switching is not necessary. Just come to
It's
work, business, and we'll roll.
It's fascinating. It is honestly one of the most interesting dynamics to emerge in the workplace these days, especially as we're kind of navigating this navigation out of the pandemic, and we hear
Mhm.
more and more conservative older owners of company blame the workforce for production loss and then say, we demand that you come back into the office. When Shalisha just said this, you're seeing so many of the Gen Zers come back and be like, nah, I'm
Mhm.
good. I will do my own thing. I'm gonna control my time. I don't care. I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. And it's that fascination between switching it up. Like, I'm not out to impress you. Like, why would I want to impress you? Who are you? Right. And I think it's an interesting dynamic. So I definitely welcome that conversation. We want to talk about code switching because I think
All right.
I've seen my own evolution and my own evolution kind of come through this space of like, what did I need to do to get into the door? And then what did I do once I got there? Right. And I was like, okay, now I need to move a little bit differently now. But I think there's something to what you were talking about earlier about I ain't got that time. I ain't got that type of energy, right? And
Oh.
like I remember I did an interview for my current position and I told them authentically where I was at with everything. Like I'm not even gonna try it. Like I'm not gonna try and make it up as something I'm not doing, right? I'm not gonna try and be the person I'm not. I make up words. I come up with weird things sometimes, but if you're into that type of thing, then that's who I am. That's my authentic self. I will always give you 150%, but I don't always know the book knowledge to best say that in the best space. So I'm going to give it
Mhm.
to you all and then allow y'all to dress that up so that y'all can come up with however y'all need to do that. But you're going to get it raw from me. You know what I mean?
I think your wife hit it, bro, when she talked about. I think there's a, I think that the idea of what professionalism is was
Mm,
never meant for us. I think the
right.
definition of professionalism was based
Was
on
to exclude us
well, and
in many
it was
ways.
based on what whites were, right? I think from a certain degree, that's why we have conversations around black hair for specifically women and more so men now, or and men now. But I think as we talk about what's professional for black women, right? It's this hair, like, oh, is curly hair, or Candace has locks, your wife has locks. That's not
Right.
professional. And I think it
In
goes to
whose world, right? Like,
that goes back to defining the question, in whose world. Well, now that so many of us are in these positions of power, we have to ask the question, what are we doing, right? Because I
right,
struggle with this idea that it is what this is the way it's always been. Yes, this is the way it's always been, but now we are sitting in positions of power, or sitting in positions of
right,
responsibility. And so now, are we going to say, like some of our parents did, let's not rock the boat? Or are we going to make this idea that this unprofessional hair or this unprofessional dress dies with us, right? Not
right.
on my watch, right? Like,
I just think it's kind of crazy. Like I reflect on organizations all the time, and this is my own personal kind of quip. I really don't express it out as much as I probably should. But when people say like, oh, like I saw a safety alert blasted across campus that said 6'3" black black male with dreads, right? And I was like, that's how we're describing this? Like I understand what dreads are, right? But can we just say locks or something? Like, why we got to call it dreads, right? That just seems to to me, dreads is an unprofessional term, right? Like dreadlocks is a little bit better, but locks is probably professional. And I think that's a cultural evolution because I think at some point you would say dreadlocks shouldn't even make it into the workplace. But I'm like, I think that reflects the culture where we at. I respect everyone for their differences and uniqueness, but I just cringe. I get a little cringy when I see somebody refer to somebody else's dreads, right? It's just that one term, dreads. And I'm like,
I
there's
mean,
so many other ways to call it,
I think you
you
see
know?
it more with people's names, right? I think I
Yeah.
have just grown. I think I've just grown. All right, we're gonna have the conversation next week. But I think I've just grown, man, as I think about hiring people to join my teams. Ever since I've been in a position to start hiring people, um, I'm just like, yo, I want the best person, and I
Right.
do my best to. I
Right.
do my best to look at my team as currently constructed and say, all right, what am I missing? And then go out and just search for the best person possible, understanding that I'm going to make some mistakes
Right.
along the way, but I can't kill myself if who I hire. I just got to make the best decision for the time
Yeah.
and have to drop out, um, drop name biases, drop, you know, it's hard for me to drop the professional dress in an interview process. I still interview you. It takes me a second to be fully transparent to get over that bias. But I don't know, man.
I don't know, man. You know what throws me off when I interview
Oh,
people these days is where you wear the beaded bracelet, right? And it just throws me off every time. And it's a style thing. It's probably a style cue or something like that. And it's I think I've been able to evolve into the that's curious versus I can't hear you type of deal, right? That's curious that you have like 5 beaded bracelets on. That's okay.
Shalisha, Shalisha said she had a person show up for an interview on Uggs.
I believe it. I believe it. Mhm.
See, so it's interesting, right? Because I didn't do the interview, and so um, I, I
Ugh,
there's a part of me that's like,
I'm
yo, maybe she didn't have no other shoes, and so I'm gonna do
Tasha,
the
I
interview.
love the term. I love the
I'm gonna
term.
give you
I
a shot.
love the term. Unkept. That sounds like old school, but relative too.
Hilarious.
Unkept.
Tasha
Don't
got an
be
old.
unkept out here.
Tasha got an
I
old
love
soul,
it.
man. Yeah, like bro, it's this is a it's a it's this is a bag of worms, man. Because it's like Candace knows whenever I start looking for a job, I'll make a list of my non-negotiables. Like here's a 4 or 5 things that I have to have in the next job, and if the org or if the thing ain't got it, I ain't going. You
Right,
and she's like, yo, like it's gonna be really hard for you to find all 5. And I'm like, yo, this is like at this point in my career, not even at this point in my career, this is what I want. And
right,
so sometimes it changes every time I change jobs. It's different, right? Because it's what I want in the moment.
right,
So it's money. It's do I want to supervise people? What's the fit for culture? What's the size for because it's nonprofit work? What's the size? For me right now, culture is important, and so if when I get to that space where I'm starting to look again for a new gig, like I'm going to create a list of non-negotiables, and more than likely, like can I be me? What's the culture fit? Like in the follow-up question to that, well, how do you tell culture? I mean, I think it's hit or miss, but I think orgs have social, org has websites that show employees, right? Like I think that there's some things,
yeah,
what's the interview process feel like, right? Like
mhm,
I think at my point in my life and at my point in my career, I can't work in spaces where I can't be me anymore.
right,
because it's too exhausting. And I will only work in spaces where I can
I'm
bring
just
people in that can be themselves. Like
I'm
if
just not good. I'm just not good at it. I'm not an actor, right? Like it doesn't matter how well I put on for that interview. It won't be but 72 hours before you walk past my office, and I guarantee you, you will hear me listening to 3 6 Mafia. I listen to 3 6 Mafia. I do. I like it. It's great music. It gets me going in the morning. Leave me alone. Right. And I'm
with,
getting my work done. You know what I
is there
mean?
is there a specific 3 6 Mafia song?
Who run it, man? Come on, man. I'm over here
I didn't know
like,
if it was Tear the Club Up. Like for me, it was Tear the Club Up.
no, Who Run It is a great morning song. If you're commuting, Who Run It? Who Run It?
Amen.
Right?
So
Great. Great
anyway,
way to start your day. So I can't hold it up for too long, right? I can't hold it up before I get stuck on some word that I don't know. And I'm gonna be like, essentially what I'm trying to say is blah 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 blah. That's
hey,
me.
your boy gonna make up words in meetings. Like,
Oh yeah. And ever since I met an phonetic researcher that was like, yeah, that's how words get created. Is someone made it up and then they equated it. they
yo,
tried to build out the vocabulary. And at this point, if John JAWN made the Oxford Dictionary, I need y'all to get up off of me about my made up
okay,
words.
real
Right?
quick. I know we need to go. I saw this story yesterday that talked about the great migration of Black people from the South, specifically the Geechee community,
Yeah.
and how so many of our words that we say today
Yeah.
are not wrong. They are just translations or adaptations from that specific cultural subset / language. So when we add the A attached to everything, that's not wrong. That's just how that word was translated from that language. And
Right.
so I got to go back and find it because I'm describing this way wrong. And maybe I'll bring that back next week if I remember. It was such. If I can find the story, I'll share it on social. It was such a dope read or dope listen. I forgot where I saw it, but it really dove into the linguistics of our language and how, yes, as a society, we view these things as wrong, and it's not. It's just a translation of our ancestral of the migration of our people out of the South, out of the deep South, with language and culture as we spread across the United States. So
Yeah.
dope. Sorry.
Yeah. If you find it, share it. Share it for real. That
Yeah,
sounds dope.
I'll find it. Hey man,
All
you
right,
ready
man.
to transition?
Yeah, we gotta transition. That's been crazy.
Because your boy getting tired. I'm running on E, and my gas tank is on E. R.I.P. to Gangsta Boo. So you want to go first?
Yeah, I could go first.
I do.
Let's see. Villain. My villain is a weird, it's like almost like an anti-hero. It's a weird anti-hero.
Okay.
So the conservatives in Florida, are my anti-heroes of the week. Why? Because Ron DeSantis has gone so far that even the conservative movement, libertarian conservative movement has been like, wait a minute, hold up. But then you use the government to attack businesses, and that's not very conservative, right? Or you created a college to develop more conservatives, and that's not very conservative in nature. I think we've gone too far. That is my anti-hero of the week. I can say no more, no less. I would never support these people in
I get
any
it.
other space.
I get
But
it.
the fact that someone has gone so far right that the far right has said, whoa, wait a minute now. Where are we going with this? My hero of the week. I have 3, right?
Whoa, 3.
I have 3 real quick.
Okay.
My little brother Cam, who just turned 22. Big shout outs to Cam. Happy birthday. My cousin Candace turned older. I'm not gonna put her birthday, but she just celebrated her birthday today. And then I got to shout out Remy. Remy is turning 1 on Saturday,
Ram
and
Dollar.
I got to give her props because the little girl, everyone says she gonna walk before her birthday, and this little girl is walking around the house as we speak. So she is on. If nothing, she is on time for practicing through and cheesing and smiling left and right about her few steps. So she is killing the game. So
Ram Dollar.
those are my heroes. Who you got?
All right, so I think I just got 2 heroes, no villains this week. No, I got a villain. My villain this week are those red boots that got people walking around looking like Astro Boy. Those things look.
What are they?
Huh?
I haven't seen these.
Stop. Red boots. Stop.
Red boots.
Yes. Hold on. Let me find them. Here they are. I found it. Like, I can't believe you hadn't seen this yet. The red boots are trash, and there you go. Boom. These red boots. Like,
what? Like, what is this?
I don't know where this came from, but I want it to stop. I want it to stop. It needs. This was meant to be last week. This was meant to be my villain last week, but they look people wearing these looking like Astro Boy, and I can't. I can't. This is unacceptable. It's not high fashion. You just look stupid. That's all I got.
And it's aptly named the Big Red Boot.
Like I am not built for like.
And then it says that they cost $350.
It's stupid. Stupid. I'm done.
It says cartoonishness. Hold on. They retail for $350. Are made.
Now you sucked in.
Huh?
Now you sucked in. Now you want me to reshare?
No. It says they retail for $350. Are made of TPU rubber, an EVA mid outsole, and take design cues from a video game. Cartoonish is an abstraction that frees us from the constraints of reality, says the press release for the boots. If you kick someone in these boots, they will go bong.
See?
Bong.
I cannot.
I would. If I was in middle school, I would roast somebody so hard coming into school with that. So like, let me know when you get done with your Mario game.
I can't. It's bad. All right, so I got 2 heroes. Actually, I got 3. So ironically, my brother Robert, his birthday is today as well. So again, I don't know how old he is. It's like my brother Cameron's 4 years younger than me. My brother Robert is 4 years younger than him. My brother Brandon is 2 years younger than him. Yeah, I told y'all I'm 39. Y'all do the math if you want to know. So shout out to Robert. He is not watching. He's a police officer in Augusta, Georgia. So if you're friends with him on social, give him a shout out. Today is his birthday. My other hero this week, I shared this with you, and then you found the album for me. I shared a story with you earlier this week about this DJ who did a mix of a Tribe Called Quest and Outkast's Aquemini album. It is probably the dopest mix of an album I have ever heard in my life. I shared with you like one snippet of one song that I heard on Instagram. Like 33 seconds later, you were like, yo, this is dope. I found the album. You sent me the album. I sent it to Tasha. I just put in the chat the link to the album. So you guys go download it. It is probably the most fire piece of work you will ever hear in your life. So go and get that. And then finally, drop today. It's been all over the news. Got to give a big props out to Joe Biden, for making that trip to Ukraine. Like that's a really big deal. Really big deal. I promised Candace I wouldn't spend too much time on this. He is the first sitting president to go visit a war zone that the United States did not control the airspace and did not have boots on the ground. So Think about that. This is as we think about the money as as a society that we are committing to Ukraine, I would just encourage everybody to understand that this is a far cheaper investment in getting rid of an adversary that we were eventually going to go to war with. It is much cheaper for us to do it this way with not one American life being threatened than it is for us to do it the other way. Because eventually we were going to get down this path with them. And so shout out to Joe Biden for making the trip to Ukraine. That is not a conversation. See, Candace, I don't know if you're still watching because she was up working. I told you I could get through that in less than a minute. So that's all I got today.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
He's like, you're going to get on your soapbox and then you're going to talk for like an hour on it because that's what you do with this kind of politics. And I'm like, yo, I'm going to be good. I'm not going to get on my soapbox. Boom.
No, you did good. You did good. That boy good.
Trust me, I have more. I'm just like in the show. More.
No. I think that shows maturity on our part because there's a time where this topic specifically would have 2 hours. So.
The whole show is a thing. Anyway, man. See, look, she gave me a shout out. Good job. Thank you, babe. I know you love me.
Right.
Hey, man, but for real, download that album. Carrie, you got it already. I think Tasha already got the album. I got the album. The shit is fire, right? You will not hear a better album this year than what that DJ put together with Outkast and Tribe Called Quest. Good guy.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. It's pretty dope. Yeah.
So, that's all I got, bro.
All right, man. I think it's time.
Hey, man. So, next week we come on back, man. We're gonna be doing code switching. That'll be a good conversation. We got to figure out how we're gonna talk about it. But it'll be fun.
And I still want to broach my topic too next week, which is gentrification of 90s Black gospel music. I'm gonna let y'all think on that, simmer on that, think what that means. But we
can't have
nothing next week. It's going down. So tune in.
All right, man. Hey, I'm Jeff.
I'm Carrie. Peace out, y'all.
Drunk Mondays, baby.